Let's talk about subclasses made for class groups rather than individual classes. I'm seeing lots of other YouTubers talk about the rules glossary updates and how they feel about having a 3D virtual tabletop made by Wizards of the Coast, but those are not the things that I am most excited about in the new edition, in One D&D. This might be something that people aren't talking about a lot because it hasn't technically been confirmed, at least not to my knowledge. But I'm pretty sure this is actually gonna be a thing. Let's take a look at what Crawford said about class groups over on the official Dungeons & Dragons YouTube channel.
Each of these classes is now a part of a group. The main thing that they do for us is provide a way to deliver groups of classes certain elements of the game collectively.
He goes on to mention feats and magic items specifically, but let's look at how subclasses have changed in the 1D&D playtest. In 5th edition, you got the subclass features for the so-called expert classes here. But once we switch over to the 1D&D playtest, we get them here instead. See how much easier it would be to put out a subclass and say any of these classes can take it? Yeah, provide a way to deliver content to multiple classes at the same time, indeed. Now, I do have a few reservations, but I'm mostly really excited about this idea. Being able to pair a given subclass with multiple classes gives players a ton of flexibility when they're building their characters, which is a trend that we've seen moving forward in Tasha's and 1D&D design principles in general. So I won't really be surprised if this is a direction that we end up going in a big way, but at the very least it's a way for Wizards to appeal to a broader range of players with a smaller set of content in a given supplement. It reminds me of how prestige classes were sometimes pushed out back in the 3rd edition era. One of my favorite books from that era, The Manual of the Planes, had just 4 prestige classes, and every class in the player's handbook, plus all the other supplemental classes and all the other splat books, had one or more that they could try to achieve at later levels. There was the Divine Agent for all the Divine Casters, the Gatecrasher for all the Skill Monkeys, the Planar Champion for all the Warrior types, and the Plane Shifter for all the Arcane casters. With just 4 prestige classes, they could appeal to any player regardless of what class they preferred playing from the core rulebooks. And I think this is something we're going to see some of in 1D&D once we see subclasses that can be applied to a class group. You can add 4 subclasses that are broadly applicable to class groups, and just as with those 4 prestige classes for Manual of the Planes, you can appeal to lots of different players. Of course, the big drawback here is, you guessed it, splat book fatigue. One of the things that 5th edition has going for it, and one of the things that I love most about it, is that if you really want class options, as long as you have the player's handbook, Tasha's, and Xanathar's, you have about 90% of all the character class options that you could ever want. Now that's not true of race options, but let's be real, they play a pretty small part in the overall makeup of your character mechanics. In 1D&D, if they take this direction where they release lots of fluffier splat books with lots of setting specific information and class info that's spread more evenly across all those supplements, then we're going to feel like we've got a lot more to keep up with. For Wizards, that's great. They get to sell more product. For players, pros and cons, right? And it's definitely not going to please everybody out there, but I don't want to get into that too much. I just want to talk about the possibilities of what this could bring. I, for one, am super excited about the possibility of playing a Hunter Rogue, or maybe a Gloomstalker Rogue, or how about a Swashbuckler Ranger? That sounds pretty cool. Mixing and matching all these classes and subclasses sounds really fun, and who knows what weird combos we'll come up with. But what do you think about this idea? Good? Bad? Ugly? Amazing? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. We'll talk soon.